Hello again, everybody. It's me, Marcus, and I review stuff. Today I'm reviewing the song "Come On, Feel the Illinoise" by Sufjan Stevens. I love that title, by the way. That's hilarious. Very clearly a reference to "Come On, Feel the Noise." But I'm gonna say by Quiet Riot, but I'm actually fully aware that it is a cover. I just don't know who they covered it, who made the original. So I know "Come On, Feel the Noise" by Quiet Riot. That's about as much as I know, and I just know that it's a cover. But anyway, I just think it's a really funny title, and I just love it. I'm hoping that the song will be quirky and funny, just based on the title alone. I know a little bit about Sufjan Stevens, just because my wife really likes his music, and we'll listen to it every now and then. To my knowledge, I haven't heard this particular song just because she doesn't really listen to him as much anymore, I feel like, as when we first started dating, but I am familiar at least with the name, and I couldn't tell you any of his other songs, I'm sorry, but I recognize his name, so I know at least kind of what kind of music he listens to. My wife listens to like 2 genres of music in total, so this would be one of them. So anyway, I'll stop rambling on. We'll listen. This is "Come On, Feel the Illinoise" by Sufjan Stevens. Let's give it a shot.
But when the ads go, I think about it now. They reminded us of death. Everything is educated. Are you ready for love? Are you ready for love? Even in his heart, the devil has to know the water level. Are you ready for love? Are you ready for love? And I cried myself to sleep last night, for the earth and materials, they may sound just right to me. Even with the risk related, everything is antiquated. Are you riding from the heart? Are you riding from the heart? Even if his heart, the devil has to know the water level. Are you riding from the heart? Are you riding from the heart?
That was a very interesting song. Y'all didn't tell me my cat was fucking... Hey, pardon me for a second. You feeling mischievous or what? Come on. Can't get through nothing without paying attention to you, can I? Alright, so what I loved about that song is the piano, that sort of feeling of optimism you get. It really had this infectious, optimistic feel to it. It's kind of hard to describe, but it felt like it was full of wonder. And I feel like whenever you think of the word eclectic, this is kind of the type of music that comes to mind here. So I just really liked that about the song. Thought it was really cool. All right, see ya. Don't be messing with shit. And it was a fun listen. I could see why people like Sufjan Stevens. His voice was very catchy in this one. And it was a very well composed song. It had a lot of, to me, almost emotion. And again, that feeling of optimism. So I'm really interested to break down the lyrics because, there were a lot of them. So what I'm seeing here on Genius, Sufjan Stevens celebrates two of Illinois' proudest moments, the World's Fair of 1893 and their native son, Carl Sandburg, both of which I really know almost nothing about. But let's see. Part 1, the World's Columbian Exposition. Oh, great intentions, I've got the best of interventions, but when the ads come, I think about it now. Interesting. So, oh, great intentions, I've got the best of interventions, but when the ads come, I think about it now. If in my infliction, entrepreneurial conditions take us to glory, I think about it now. So if I remember, the World's Fair, isn't that where like people showcase a lot of their inventions? Again, I don't know too much about it, but I guess I could Google. Let's see. World's Fair of 1893. Does the World's Fair still happen? It doesn't seem like it. Well, I don't know. World's Columbian Exposition. The World's Columbian Exposition was also known as the Chicago World's Fair, and Chicago Columbian Exposition was a World's Fair held in Chicago in 1893 to celebrate the 400th anniversary of Christopher Columbus's arrival in the New World. What a thing to celebrate. In 1492, the centerpiece of the fair, the large water pool represented the voyage Columbus took to the New World. Chicago had won the right to host the fair over several other cities, including New York City, Washington, D.C., and St. Louis. The exposition was an influential social and cultural event and had a profound effect on architecture, sanitation, the arts, Chicago's self-image, and American industrial optimism. Yeah, I wonder if Sufjan kind of knows that, because again, the song just felt very optimistic to me in its sort of presentation. The layout of the Chicago Columbian Exposition was in large part designed by blah blah blah. I just want to know what it was about. Covered 690 acres, neoclassical architecture, canals and lagoons, people and cultures from over 46 countries. More than 27 million people attended the exposition during its 6-month run. Its scale and grandeur far exceeded the other world's fairs, and it became a symbol of emerging American exceptionalism, much in the same way that the Great Exhibition became a symbol of the Victorian-era United Kingdom. Okay. On October 9th, 1893, the date designated the Chicago Day of the Fair set a world record for outdoor event attendance, drawing 751,000 people. Jeez. The debt for the fair was soon paid off with a check for $1.5 million. So what's the point? I guess it was there were attractions. Okay, so there were attractions like inventions. World's first fair area for amusements. Okay, so yeah, there were a lot of inventions there. Kind of a lot of the who's who or what's happening in the world. Okay, so that tells me a little bit about it. So I guess, and it seems like the one in Chicago was kind of the grandest of them all, the biggest of them all. So I guess as a Chicagoan, Chicago native, whatever they call themselves, this would be a pretty big event, right? Interesting. Okay. Cannot conversations call United Nations? If you got the patience, celebrate the ancients. Cannot all creation call it celebration, or United Nation put it to your head? Oh, great white city, I've got the adequate committee. Where have your walls gone? I think about it now. I'm curious as to what these lyrics mean in the context of the World's Fair. They do seem a little bit kind of out there, so I'm not entirely sure exactly what I'm reading here. Chicago in fashion, the soft drinks expansion. Oh, Columbia from Paris incentive, like cream of wheat invented the Ferris wheel. So I think he's kind of just spouting out some of the inventions, some of the crazy things that were there for the first time. Oh, great intentions, covenant with the imitation. Have you no conscience? I think about it now. O God of progress, have you degraded or forgot us? Where have your laws gone? I think about it now. So I wonder if he's maybe reminiscing, or I guess not reminiscing because he wasn't there, but maybe thinking back to the World's Fair of 1893 and then, contrasting it with, looks like this came out in 2005, maybe contrasting it with 2005's America, saying, where was that peaceful, where did that peaceful time go where it was all about the inventions, all about coming together? Where did that progress go where, all that kind of stuff, which I would argue the progress is still there. The inventions are still there. The last 10, 20 years, we've seen more inventions and progress in the way of technology than I think all of human history, really, when you think about it. But at the same time, I think what he's so much more so missing out on, he's missing that feeling of just that whimsy, that invention, that sort of feeling of pride and togetherness, and where it's like, again, our international problems don't matter as much so as coming together and sharing our incredible discoveries with each other. I think that's kind of what he's getting at. Oh, God of progress, have you degraded or forgot us? I think that's interesting. Ancient hieroglyphic or the South Pacific, typically terrific, busy, and prolific. Classical devotion, architect promotion, lacking in emotion. Think about it now. And in Chicago, the new age. But what would Frank Lloyd Wright say? Oh, Columbia, amusement or treasure, these optimistic pleasures like the Ferris wheel. Cannot conversations cull United Nations? If you got the patience, celebrate the ancients. Columbia. And this is part 2. Carl Sandburg visits me in a dream. I cried myself to sleep last night, and the ghost of Carl, he approached my window. See, I don't know who Carl Sandburg is at all. He was an American writer and editor, best known for his poetry. He was a recipient of 3 Pulitzer Prizes, 2 for his poetry and another for his biography of Abraham Lincoln. Oh, that's pretty cool. Carl Sandburg is also from Illinois, and one of his most famous poems is about Chicago. So I wonder, is Sufjan Stevens also from Chicago? Because it seems like this is sort of a love letter to Chicago, right? To Illinois specifically. But I think it's interesting, yeah. Interesting. A lot of interesting stuff here. So anyway, I guess the ghost of Carl Sandburg appears to him in a dream. He approached my window. I was hypnotized. I was asked to improvise on the attitude, the regret of 1,000 centuries of death. So I guess this is sort of a continuing theme throughout the song. He's missing out. I think he misses that peacefulness, that togetherness that something like the World Fair represented. And so now it's, he's kind of lamenting with Carl Sandburg here about that. Just he's talking about his regret and 1,000 centuries of death, with humanity sort of maybe with 1,000 centuries of death would go far beyond the World's Fair. So I wonder if he's just talking about humanity's legacy in general. Even with the heart of terror and the superstitious wear, I am writing all alone. I am writing all alone. Even in my best condition, counting all the superstition, I am writing all alone. I am running all alone. And we laughed at the beatitudes. Beatitudes? Were blessings listed by Jesus Christ. Interesting. Of 1,000 lines, we were asked at the attitudes. They reminded us of death. Even with the best belated, everything is antiquated. Are you writing from the heart? Are you writing from the heart? Even in this heart, the devil has to know the water level. Are you writing from the heart? Are you writing from the heart? And I cried myself to sleep last night, for the earth and materials, they may sound just right to me. Even with the rest belated, everything is antiquated. Are you writing from the heart? Are you writing from the heart? Even in his heart, the devil has to know the water level. Are you writing from the heart? Are you writing from the heart? Interesting. No idea what's going on here. Yeah, no idea. Absolutely no idea. I just know that clearly, Carl Sandburg is a Chicagoan, and I guess the part that I get here in part 2 is that Sufjan kind of points that authenticity back on himself, and is saying, like, am I being authentic the way that someone like Carl Sandburg would be? Am I keeping true to my roots? That's kind of what I'm getting from it. That's about as much as I can ascertain. Lyrically, it's very interesting. He has a very, again, quirky, kind of weird way of writing his lyrics. To where I was like reading these lyrics, I'm like, I don't really understand a whole lot of what's going on. Like, I understand the words themselves, but I don't understand them in the context of the song. And so without someone kind of pointing out what the song was about, I don't know if I would have really reached that conclusion on my own. And not that hurts the song lyrically, in my opinion. I think it actually works really well. When I think about lyrics, of course, I think about what they say. I think about the meaning. But I also think about how they fit in the song. And then I just feel like with the almost relentless, optimistic instrumental sound that we get from this song, I think the lyrics fit in quite nicely, actually. Strange as they are, they really fit with the quirkiness of the overall song. So I still give it 2 thumbs up. I think lyrically it's fine. It's very interesting. I'd be interested to really break down the lyrics a little bit more. I'll have to kind of do that on my own time to really understand this one. As I mentioned, the instrumentation, very, to me, like, optimistic sound. I don't know what it is about it. It just sounded so like, wow, like the world is hustle and bustle. It's kind of what I would picture playing at like a World's Fair. It is so hustle and bustle, so like optimistic, so full of whimsy and wonder. And I don't know if that makes sense at all. I don't know if you guys hear that as well. I think part of it was that piano. That piano was really, really just infectious sounding. It just such a nice sort of melody to go along with it. I also really like the horns. Those sounded great. Strings sounded great. It was just really well composed song with a lot of moving pieces that I think never felt out of place. I never felt like the song weirded me out too much, where I was like, I can't listen to this. It's just weird. It was still very good musicianship, still very well performed and well executed. So I liked that about it. Sufjan's voice sounds very interesting. I can't really place it, but I really like the way it sounds. Even the backup vocals, I like what they were doing to really bring the song up. And I just think, like I said, when it was put together, it was very well executed and just had this sort of optimistic feel to it that I can't place. It's a very weird thing. And I'd be interested to hear more from this album to see if there's anything else like this here. So, instrumentally, vocally, I give it 2 thumbs up. I thought it was really catchy, really, really well put together. Like I said, just a fun listen, very interesting. As far as replay value goes, this one is kind of quirky for me. I just don't know how much playtime it gets on a playlist for me. But at the same time, I like it. So it's kind of like, I'm like, I like it, but it's a little too out there for me right now. I wonder if maybe listening to it a little bit more will sort of get me more acclimated to it. So I'll say like a thumb and a half. I think it could go one of two ways. I think if I listen to it a couple more times and it starts to kind of sink in a little bit more, I could see myself listening to it over and over. But I think if in those next two listens I'm like, maybe it's a little too much for me. It can really go either way. That's why I take maybe a half thumb off. I think it's still fine. I think it still gets some playtime in my playlist there. But anyway, thank you so much for the request. I saw someone else requested another Sufjan Stevens song, so you'll definitely hear more from him eventually on the channel. If you guys have any other requests from him, anything else you think I would like, I think those of you who have been with me for a while kind of know what I like. So, if you got anything from him you think I'll enjoy, definitely hit me up in the comments. If you enjoyed the music, go support the artist. Go listen to the music wherever you can. One place you can definitely check it out is in my Spotify playlist. It's got every single song I've heard so far on my channel. Makes for a pretty fun day of listening. If you want to support me, just all the normal stuff you do on YouTube, like and subscribe and comment. All right, guys, that's it for me. Hope you're staying safe and healthy. Hope to see you in the next video. Bye.